Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I hope that you guys are having a beautiful one out there. Hopefully, the weather's treating you good. Not too cold, not too hot. Somewhere like that little Bears porridge, just right. Today, we're going to listen to the band Ours. We're going to listen to this track sometime. This is going to be off of their album, Distorted Melodies, I cannot read, Distorted Lullabies, I should say, which was released in 2001. We are listening to this track because it was suggested and sponsored by Eric. Eric, thank you so much for the recommendation. Thank you as well for the support as well. I appreciate that. I've never heard of the band Ours. Looking at this album cover, I'm thinking goth. That'd be my first inclination, something like that. He's looking a little gothy, but maybe I could be wrong. Listen, there's one way to find out. Let's go ahead and listen to the song. We'll discuss a little bit after. Here we go. Some fuzzy bass. On the way he sings it, it's a nice contrast. Great vocal fry. Big production on the drums too. This was released 2001, and it sounds every bit of that. And I do not mean that in any sort of negative way. This is like, to me, this is 2001. How old was I in 2001? I don't know. Teenage years or so, or right below that. It was probably right around this era that I was probably just dipping my toes into rock. The first rock song that like I ever listened to that I really enjoyed was Creed, Higher. I remember that. Like that was the first song that like rock song that I heard and I was like, "Ooh, this is good." That was probably, now that I'm thinking about it, that was probably the song that kind of set me off on my journey. And so like that kind of song and music like that, I kind of followed that path of like alternative rock and eventually new metal and so on and so forth. And that was like my introduction to rock. And this fits so perfectly kind of in that line. What I really like about this, there's quite a few things. Like, for one, during the verse, it sounds like there's Mellotron. Just putting that out there. The production on the drums is really big, especially when it comes to the kick and the snare. And then especially in the beginning, there's that kind of almost a distorted, buzzy, kind of synthy bass line that's kind of being followed under there, which is really, really cool. I like that sound and that texture electronically. That's kind of just a nice through line in the beginning. It kind of adds a little bit of a buzzy oomph. Sounds weird, but it to me, it's sonically pleasing, that particular sound. And so I really like how it's used here, at least just for a little bit. But I think the biggest standout here is going to be the singer's voice. Now, I'm on the Wikipedia page, and I do not have a personnel list at all. So I'm just going to pull up the band themselves. So it's going to be Jimmy Neko on the lead vocals here. And he's kind of performing a lot of things, actually. Vocals, guitars, piano, keyboards, drums. There are others in the band. I'm looking on their page right now, but he's handling quite a bit. And his vocals are sensational here. From falsetto highs into, kind of that alternative rock mid-range. And then that middle section where he just goes off and gives a nice, long, sustained vocal fry of a passionate cry is a huge standout. Now, I'm going to say something slightly sacrilegious because I don't care. I just explain myself. I just like to share my feelings, whether one person takes it this way or that way. In the verse, when he's singing, sometimes when he's singing in that falsetto range and kind of moving back and forth between his normal, I guess you could say, head voice and that falsetto range, kind of weaving really seamlessly in and out, there's times, listen, please listen. There's times when his style is reminiscent to me of Freddie Mercury. Am I saying he's Freddie Mercury's? I'm just saying his delivery to me in some respects sound at least Mercury inspired. And I think that he pulls that off really fantastically because he can hit those high notes. He can hit that powerful anthemic like push and inspire. I think that that's very unique, and I think he does a fantastic job in the way that he sings this track. I think that was a huge standout. Let's look at these lyrics real quick. Pressure fried the coldest head, bent to the side wishing he was dead. And I would still defend, I'll give up on it all, I'll give up on the greed. I'll give up on the ones who will give up on me. I like that line. And as here he says, I would still defend. Even someone who is perhaps not in the best of ways, he would still defend them, and he would give up things that he would give up the things he has if it means defending this person. And he says even he'll give up on the ones who give up on me. Like, he wants to be around people that wouldn't give up on him. Held up by the poor somewhere. They're unaware, but I know we are scared. If I was to give in, the fire would soon begin again. Like, he has to stay strong. He has to stay stalwart, so to speak, and standing tall in order not to give in. And this fire, this repetition, this cyclical nature of possible destruction and poverty and such would keep on going in some capacity, He's looking at himself in a very, what's the term? He's taking a lot of pride in a guardianship that he's kind of holding to himself, and he's holding himself to a standard and not letting that standard fall one way or the other. And then I like how the music kind of lightens up here, which is very appropriate for what it says. Sometimes the sun shines. Through all the darkness, through all the negative, through all the problems and such, sometimes the sun shines. And of course, that's where the title of the track comes from. And then it changes. He says, did you give up on it all? Did you give up on the ones who will give up on me? Interesting little twist in the lyrics there. And then he ends, who will give up on me? I like that. There, sometimes I'm just speaking of like all alt rock and stuff of the 90s and early 2000s and such gets a bad rap for whatever reason. But I think that like tracks like this, especially with the lyrics and the way that it's performed, are kind of underrated, to be honest, But that's just me. And I can make that case about probably near anything if I chose to. Let me know what you guys thought of it, of course, in the comments. I appreciate you all watching. Eric, thank you so much for the support and the recommendation as well. Hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your evening. Come on back tomorrow, and I will see you all then. Bye, guys.